Hello, Always Your Properties family. I said I would do a video for y'all on subject twos and what they are, how that conversation starts, and kind of everything that we know at this point. Now, subject twos are not new. They have been around for a long time. But when the market is good, we don't need creative financing. And that's what they call it. When you get that phone call from an investor on your listing, they'll say, "Are you open to creative financing?" So when they say that, what they're wanting to do for creative financing is they're wanting to see if your person is open to subject to financing. Now, this is different than the or as assigned. Okay. So it's different than or as assigned. Subject to is actually where I'm going to explain it in more detail, but the short end of the stick is basically they're taking over the payments. It's kind of like when you hear about people all the time. Hey, I need to sell my car. Just take over the payments. It's the same thing. When the car gets repossessed, it doesn't hurt the person who took over the payments. It still hurts the person whose car is in their name. Okay. Now, there are some attorneys out there that are doing some really crazy crap and are creating documents and creating contracts and creating deeds that are seemingly legit, but there's some issues. So, so some of y'all don't know, but I'm going to be teaching a class. Okay. So the class I'm going to be teaching is real estate finance. And in my real estate finance book that was written in 2018, it talks about subject twos. And it says it's subject to existing encumbrances, which means it's subject to existing loans. Where there's some shortfalls on it. If your seller accepts a subject to loan or a subject to contract, it does not matter what they sign. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's on a TREC promulgated contract or if it's on a proprietary contract that an attorney draws up. There are certain factors that cannot change. When they do a subject to, they are taking over the payments, which means whatever type of financing your people had, it is still in their name. That does not change. So if they had used their VA entitlement is still tied up. If they were doing FHA and they did down payment assistance, or if they were in FHA first time home buyer, that is still tied up in that. Whatever type of financing they did, it is still in their name. The financing does not change. Now, what is changed is the deed. In a lot of these contracts, what they're doing is they are changing the deed and doing like a quit claim deed, or they'll do a special warranty deed or a special transfer deed that changes the name on the house, but it is not changing the financing. Okay. Now, where do we get the right to foreclose? Within our promissory notes. Within our promissory notes that is recorded in the county, it lists how we get to foreclose. So if that does not change, and that is not releasing the seller in any way, shape, or form, if these people do not make that payment, the original person is foreclosed on. Okay. So it's not the new buyer. So under a subject to, the buyer can simply walk away from the property, forfeit any equity that has accumulated, and avoid any future responsibility in that transaction. They literally can walk away. So what does this look like? I'm going to use some fake names. Billy Bob needs to sell his house. He has come into an issue. He needs to sell his house. So Jimmy offers him a creative financing deal and says, Billy Bob, I got you. I'm going to make your payments and I'm gonna pay your agent. I'm gonna pay all the closing costs. I'm gonna pay the transfer of title. I got you. And I'm gonna make your payments. And you know what? If I don't make the payments, you can have the house back. Because that's what they all say. If I don't make the payments, you can have the house back. That sounds great. But in the meantime, Jimmy has changed the address that payments go to, has changed the address for the tax statements to go to, has changed the address for if it's in an HOA, which they don't ever buy ones in an HOA. They really don't because that's a hassle. But if they do, some of them I've seen a couple. They change the address. They change the address for everything to them. So there is no tracking that would go back to you, that would go back to Billy Bob. Billy Bob would literally have no idea that that house got foreclosed on. So Jimmy decides, oh my gosh, I have just bought 19 of these subject twos, and now I can't get a renter in there because they're turning them all into rentals. I can't get a renter in there, and I can't make the payments. And oh my gosh, the market has tanked, and what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to walk away. I'm just walking away because he can. So Jimmy can walk away. He can take whatever money he has made during this time and he can literally let that house go into foreclosure. And it is not foreclosing on him, it is foreclosing on the seller. So the seller has all of the risk and all of the liability. They never lose that. The original maker of the mortgage remains primarily responsible to the lender. That means the original seller is the one that is responsible to the lender until the loan is paid in full or they go through the process and actually sell it. So, is a subject to in the best interest of your seller? Absolutely not. Because your seller puts themselves at a high risk if something goes wrong. And yes, they may be saving themselves now, but they're still tying up their VA if they have VA. They are really putting themselves at risk of foreclosure. That's a problem. So, our recommendation from Always Here Property standpoint is one, they need to talk to their own attorney. I can explain this to them. I can explain it to them if they want, um, or they can talk to an attorney. I do not know one attorney that is going to tell them, oh, yeah, you need to take this deal. So I would be more than happy to talk to your sellers if they're entertaining a subject to. Second thing is talk to an attorney. But the position of Always Here Properties is we are not recommending subject twos. You guys have a great day.